Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right, today we are talking the difference between natural and full coverage. How exactly to apply it with mascara, which is so different. So I talk all the time about building up coverage, using a color corrector if you need one, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it today. So see if you can tell which side's full coverage, which side's natural, and I'm even going to include a wear time picture at the end after I've worn this all day so you can see the difference it makes in terms of application, how to use your tools, all the things. So if you want to see exactly how I do it, keep watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and be sure you're subscribed so you see my next tutorial. Thank you guys for being here. All right, friends, let's go ahead and get right into it and start on this half face tutorial. So we're gonna go ahead and do this side full coverage. I'm gonna show you what brushes to use and what is the best way to go about getting full coverage with this makeup. And then this side, we're gonna go natural. You want natural, glowing skin. How are we gonna do that? And let's get started with the very beginning. So I went ahead and did my eyes. I did not finish them because I like to obviously to color correct and fix my under eyes before I do my under eye makeup. But it's a great tip. Do your eyes first, so that way I will show you how we clean up these edges once we start applying our foundation. But I've already gone and got my Perfector wet. Okay, so this is a crucial first step. And a lot of people don't know how to properly use this. Either way, natural or full coverage, you're not gonna like the way your makeup sits if you don't use your Perfector correctly. So I ran it under water and I squeezed it under running water numerous times, okay? It doubled in size and then I squeezed it out in the sink and I literally shook it out until no more water I could get out with my bare hands. Okay, I'm gonna grab an absorbent towel, okay? And I have done this with just whatever, like hand towel. I don't know why. I like the flour sack towels. I feel like they're more absorbent. So I keep one right here where I do my makeup. And I squeeze it out in there and I move it around on the towel like 2 to 3 times and squeeze it as hard as I can. Okay, and then I'm gonna let it sit out and it's gonna start air drying while I start my face. So when I get to the Perfector step, it's gonna be the perfect consistency. It's not gonna be too wet and pull off my makeup and leave patches, or it's not gonna be too dry, which pretty much does nothing. It helps press it in a little bit. It does maybe remove a slight amount, but it's not gonna help if you have excess on your skin to really remove that and make your skin look like skin again and not makeup. So if you're having problems with creasing anywhere, use your Perfector more. Make sure you get at that consistency before you begin. Okay, so I get asked all the time about primers. You guys, this makeup is designed so you don't need a primer. The one time I really recommend a primer is if you have very oily skin. And then I usually recommend a mattifying primer where you are oily, not everywhere, just where you're oily. Other than that, you need to experiment, okay? You might not need a primer. There's no reason to use one if you don't need one. I love our Stay Sprays because I use them anyway to set my makeup. It is very moisturizing because it has hyaluronic acid. So you'll see me, I always am just spraying with this, or I will spray it on my Perfector and I'll use this to prime. So it really is good to prime the skin. You can spray it all over. I don't feel like it gets maybe problem areas as well. So if you have issues with like your makeup rubbing off around your nose or chin, like most people do, then you can press it on and get better longevity that way. But I urge you to experiment and see if you need one. You don't necessarily need a primer. There's always pore filling primers and stuff like that, but I have other videos dedicated just to primers if you have questions about that. So, okay, let's go ahead and we're gonna start with natural coverage first. So my biggest recommendation when it comes to knowing what kind of coverage you want is knowing what brush to use, and not only the brush, but how to use the brush, okay? Our tools are very multi-purpose, meaning you can use them multitude of ways to get different coverage and to get different applications with this makeup. So this makeup is so different. You have to practice. You do have to trial and error and see what you like for your skin, because you know what? Everybody's skin is so different, and what works for me might not be your favorite way, okay? That's okay. Just keep playing with it. So, you guys, if you've ever seen my videos before, you know I love a color corrector. I'm gonna show you how to use that for full coverage, but I'm gonna show you what kind of coverage I get not using a color corrector, so you can truly see the difference of how a color corrector can help you build up to full coverage. So on this side, I'm going to use my normal color, which is Sandy, and on this side, I will show you the color corrector plus Sandy so you can see the difference. So, okay, natural coverage. So my favorite brushes for a natural coverage, my all-time favorite is the B squared, so the blush bronzer, oh gosh, I did that backwards. Blush bronzer brush. This is actually my favorite brush to recommend for beginners because it is the best one for you not to be too heavy-handed with the makeup. This makeup has big learning curve when it comes to knowing how much to apply. Everyone starts off with way too much. So this one helps because the bristles are not quite as dense as, say, our 30-second hack brush. I feel like this brush is easier for a natural coverage application. So this is what I recommend, and I'm gonna show you how to use this one. But you can use this end of the 30-second, this end of the detail hack, or even the best blend forever this end. So pretty much what you're looking for is bristles that aren't as dense, because the denser the bristles, the more you have to press on the makeup instead of buffing it into the skin. So when you think of natural coverage, think of a buffing motion. If you don't know what buffing means, that means you're going to small circular motions and buff it in. Okay, so I'm gonna show you with this end, and we're gonna go straight in with Sandy, okay? I'm gonna touch it, and that is how much I need for each area of my face. So one good tip is if you find your colors maybe not blending as well, especially around different seasons, sometimes winter, your creams can be colder, that kind of thing. A good tip is to then press it on where you want, okay? And let it sit there for a second while it warms up on your face. Your face is naturally gonna warm up the creams, and then it's gonna blend a lot easier. You can even use your finger, tap in and swipe onto that area, let it warm up first, then you can go in and blend with it, okay? So you guys are gonna see I'm not gonna get a whole lot of coverage probably on my nose because my nose is darker than the rest of my face, so that's why, one of the main reasons why I need a color corrector there. So I am gonna go ahead and try to keep this on half my face. This might be interesting because I have to go somewhere after this, but it's okay. All right, so see how I am buffing this makeup in. You should not be able to, it shouldn't be so thick that you can really, you shouldn't be able to see the makeup, okay? You always want to start off with little product and build up from there, okay? And for a natural coverage, I'm telling you guys, you don't have to use much at all, like barely tap, buff in, okay? I didn't do my under eyes, so I'm just gonna kind of swipe there. Okay, sometimes with your under eyes, you might need to dip in with your finger. Excuse my dog barking. Okay, so this is natural coverage. You can still see my skin, but it has naturally gotten rid of some of my redness. and it is a good match for me, okay? So my biggest thing with natural coverage is you're not putting on as much makeup. So if you're touching your face a lot throughout the day, naturally you might be rubbing off more, okay? So if your makeup is fading a lot, that is a sign of not a good color for you. So if I have people that come to me that say my makeup isn't lasting 2 hours and it's gone, that's because you have the wrong shade, okay? Otherwise, this will last all day on me, but again, with natural coverage, you're not gonna have a full face of makeup as much through the day after a good 8-12 hour day as I will on this side. Okay, just word of warning. So this is natural. Anywhere you want more coverage with a natural look, like under your eyes, then I recommend pressing on more in that area. Okay, and I haven't brightened yet. But if you have blemishes, anything like that, use your finger, use the warmth of your hand, and then you build up that. So I always recommend buffing in that first layer, and then you can put more coverage or use the same brush and then just press on more anywhere you need a little bit more coverage. Okay, so that is natural coverage. Let's talk full coverage. So I like a medium to full coverage. I wouldn't say I'm like full coverage. You can get that with this makeup, but honestly, this makeup looks like skin. It's never gonna be that full, I'm gonna cancel out every little imperfection on my face and it's gonna look like a mask of makeup. It's never gonna look that way because this makeup is designed to look like your skin, okay? Yes, it can hide imperfections very easily, but it is not one of those matte full coverage type foundations. Does that make sense? Okay, so for beginners, I recommend starting with full coverage the same way I started with my natural. Still using this into the brush and getting a light layer on first as a natural coverage and then build from there. So I've been using this makeup over 2.5 years, so I know exactly how much to get. So when I go for full coverage, I do use a different brush for my first layer, and I'll show you. I'll just stick with my Buffy. So the Buffy does have very dense bristles, okay? It is meant for pressing on. I don't find like it can buff in, but I don't feel like it works as well as with that pressing motion, okay? Another brush that is good for full coverage is the pointed end of the 32nd. I find this is a little bit more difficult to use, okay? Because you can press it on and kind of feather at the same time, but you're pressing this. Otherwise, the bristles are too long. It will kind of like flop around there. It's kind of I don't know. It's not a difficult to use, but I find that most people don't prefer full coverage with this brush. Okay, and then we're gonna go back to the B squared and this end. You can also press on with this brush. Again, if you're new to this makeup, still, I would recommend this for your highlight coverage. Buff on that first color corrector, then you will press on your second shade. So I'm gonna show you how I like to do it with my Buffy. I use Mango as my color corrector. It's a great color corrector for redness, hyperpigmentation, and dark circles. It is like, I call it Magic Mango for a reason because it is so good. So I'm gonna use the big end. Again, guys, like less is more. I'm touching it. That is enough for this entire region of my face, okay? And I'm keeping it across the cheeks. This is the mask area because this is where I have redness. Now, if you don't have anything to color correct, you're gonna use your main shade and you're going to buff in a thin layer first, okay? I am just going to press on a very thin layer first, okay? And I will show you with the other brush how I would do the parts of my face I don't need a color corrector. So I have a little bit of redness right here on my forehead, a little bit in the middle of my chin. This is really hard doing half of my face, but mostly around my nose. My nose is darker. Can you see how I don't have so much? Like this color looks very orange in the tin. I don't have so much that it is pulling me orange, okay? Less is more. Now, when it comes to the under eyes, I have a lot of purple right through here, so I can't get to that easily with a brush. That is when I tap in, and then I like to sweep it under my eyes. Okay, and then I kind of clean up that edge as I go, and you'll see I already have a whole lot better under eye coverage on those dark circles because I need a color corrector. Okay, so say I'm not gonna use the Buffy for that step, or say you don't need a color corrector. You guys, you're gonna do the same thing with your main shade and buff it all in. So if you have nothing on your jawline, you can simply buff that first layer, okay? Or do the parts of your face that you didn't use that, okay? If you don't need a color corrector, do your entire face like you just did this side. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in with my main shade, okay? This is only one step down, but it is a neutral highlight shade. So this is a very warm shade. If I put that all over and built up to full coverage, my face would look way too warm for my neck. So what I do is I use that as a color corrector. Then I'm going to build up to full coverage by pressing on a shade that's going to tone down the warmth of that mango, okay? And bring it back to matching. So this is how I color match people that need a color corrector. So again, still using the big end, I'm pressing in, and then I'm pressing on that main shade over my entire face that I want full coverage, okay? I'm being careful not to swipe, or I would move my color corrector underneath. And I just realized I never pressed on more. Can you see my hyperpigmentation? So a thin layer of mango does help, which is why it's not super visible, but I always like to use a little bit more to build up that coverage, and I use the warmth of my finger. I press it on and kind of blend it out. Okay, then I can go over that with my main shade. See how much coverage you can get? Okay, so pressing on all over to build up to fuller coverage here. Okay, can you see the difference between the two sides? Okay, this one you can definitely see more skin. You can see my freckling a little bit more. You can still see a little bit of the warmth from the redness through my cheeks. Okay, so it depends on how red you are, whether you actually need a color corrector, and also how your main shade is wearing through the day. If it is fading, it's because that redness is too much that you need to address it, because that highlight shade over it is too light for that area, okay? So with this makeup, remember, if you're using a shade too light, it's gonna fade quickly, it's gonna show texture, pores, it's gonna pretty much emphasize things that you don't want emphasized, okay? So if you have areas fading, that's because you need a color corrector under that, or you just have the wrong highlight shade in general. So it makes a huge difference with the right colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and contour and brighten, and that way I can show you how to finish it up. Okay, so I went ahead and contoured, and I completely forgot to mention, now don't forget, contour also has coverage. So if you are wanting a natural finish and you don't need color correction, you don't need any of that. You guys, you don't even have to put highlight where you contour. So don't forget that. You know where you contour, you're gonna do a 3, okay? So you can simply contour first, okay? And then buff in the highlight just where you want. I find it easier, I don't know, to like not have to like worry about skipping those areas, but if you like to blend around your contour, you can contour first. Or just skip those areas and just buff in the highlight around it, add your contour, and it will blend together seamlessly. So I like to contour, and then I like to look and see if I need additional coverage anywhere after the makeup is kind of warmed up on my face and kind of blended in a little bit. Then I go and look, and that's usually when I will pick up either the multitasker, which has a very nice tip like that, a very small tip, which is great for blemishes, okay? And I will use mango, even though I've layered, you can't tell, okay? I'll use mango for blemishes, especially if I did a natural coverage and didn't get much coverage on those areas. Okay, or you can use your finger again and just press on a little bit more coverage. Okay, so I am ready to brighten. There is, obviously I use the detail hack for my contour. I don't contour with anything else. This is like my ride or die. If you're having trouble with contour, get this brush. You won't regret it. It's amazing. So when it comes to brightening, there's a few different recommendations I have. I find there's a few favorite brushes for brightening. So any small, more precision brushes. So this is the small end of the Best Blend Forever or the small end of the Detail, are really good for kind of starting up in that upper corner and kind of drawing out some sun rays and brightening that triangle of light. Okay, now I just color corrected here and then put my main shade over it. I don't want to move that shade I already placed, okay? Remember, you don't want to move your color corrector underneath. So I like a brush I can press on. You can press these. I find it takes a little bit longer because the brush is so small, but if you're one of those that just likes to just brighten right where you need it, this is a great option for you. I love the pointed end of this brush because it gets all the way up into that upper corner and you can press it really easy. It's a large brush, covers a lot of surface area if you're doing this whole triangle like I do. On the daily, I use this bad boy for all of my highlight needs, pretty much. Color corrector, main shade, and then I flip it around to the small brush. Again, less is more. People tap, okay? And then I'm gonna start and I'm gonna press. See how I'm not pulling. This is a very gentle area, or gentle. You need to be gentle on this area because it is more susceptible to pulling that skin, that fragile skin, okay? So I'm just pressing and I'm just using small little pressing motions, and I only tapped in 2 times for that entire under eye. Can you see how bright I got, okay? Same thing if you want to brighten. I'm not even gonna brighten, well, I guess I have to brighten in between my notes. So I did contour slightly. I'm gonna flip the brush to the pointed kind of edge and just brighten between those 2 contour lines. Might as well just brighten a little bit. Okay, and then the same thing I'm gonna do on the other side so you can see what it looks like without a color corrector. Okay, you see the difference. I feel like I can still see blue and purple peeking through. We haven't perfected yet. So we highlighted, contoured. I like to after the brightening step, I always use my Perfector. So by now, it's the perfect consistency, and I'm pressing. So make sure you aren't swiping the Perfector, you are pressing. Look at that, blends in, looks like skin, taking away that makeup that's sitting on top of this skin, all that excess you don't need. Okay, and it's blending, so I recommend pressing it all over your face. So if you are new to this makeup and you are looking for a full coverage, I recommend perfecting between every layer of highlight. And I recommend that due to most people, 99.9%, will use too much in the beginning. And it takes a while to kind of learn that you're using too much. If you feel sticky or tacky, get out your Perfector. You need to press it on even more. But if you do that first, buff it in, okay? Especially if you're using 3 highlight shades under your eyes like I am, put on your color corrector, press it in. Put on your main shade, press it in. Brighten, press it in. Okay, and I forget to sometimes show you guys that because I am in such a bad habit of not doing it anymore now that I know. And it honestly, let's be real, it's because it saves me time that I don't have to anymore. But just know it will help a ton, okay? Keep perfecting until you need to, all my problem areas. So if you have creasing, you just need to perfect those areas more. Okay, we pretty much are almost done. Let's go ahead and add lip and cheek and powder and spray, and I'm gonna finish up my eyes, and then I should be, oh yeah, and I need to do some of these lips. So I'm done, and I totally forgot bronzer. And you guys, I desperately need it right now. So doesn't matter that I already sprayed. I'm gonna Bella it up. I'm just gonna put some right where I need it. Another really good tip, which I should have showed you guys how to do this. So if you are a fellow self-tanner like me, or if you're not, but you wish you had a little bit more color in your cheeks, a great way to get full coverage is actually, I use the B squared again, and I will put a thin layer of Bella down first, and then I put my highlight on top. It kind of gives like an inner glow, And sometimes I'll use it just on those areas I normally bronze. So I'll go here and here, a little bit nose, chin, and down the neck. Then I'll go ahead and put on my highlights in the same way, and you would be amazed at what it looks like. I like to do that on day like 2, 3, when my tan's pretty much faded and I feel a little like I look a little dead and I need a little bit of bronze. It is a game changer. So, okay, we're done. You can see how much coverage I got on my contour areas. Can you tell a difference? I almost need to do a wear test to show you guys what this looks like after wearing it all day. So I will insert a picture at the end of what it looks like after a full day's wear so you can see the difference between natural and full coverage. Hopefully that helps give you an idea of how to build up for full coverage and get the look you're wanting with the right tools. The tools are key. I promise you, if you haven't used our brushes yet, that is probably my biggest recommendation, is to try our tools because they are complete game changers. So thanks for watching. Love you guys.